Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to Jacqueline Whetten. She's a remarkable young woman. She's a farrier, she's a mom, she's an entrepreneur, she's a marketer, she's a rancher. She could be your personal rancher. This episode, she's going to talk about raising quality nutrition here in Missouri for you, for her, your family, for your loved ones. You'll see just how important it is and how what she does can have a big impact on your life. Make 2025 the year where you start to get really healthy. Ladies and gentlemen, I am sitting here with a person I know very well. I've known this young lady since 1993, believe it or not. So this is my daughter, Jacqueline. And, well, a little bit different doing a podcast with somebody you know so well. So, Jacqueline, welcome.
Hi.
Are you nervous?
I don't know.
All right. All right, well, tell us your name. Tell us, you're in your childhood home. Does this bring back memories?
Well, this isn't my whole childhood home.
No. When did you move here?
10, 11, something like that.
Yep.
So,
So, how old are you now?
31,
31.
3 kids, and
How long have you been married?
almost 10 years.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Very crazy.
Yep. And so you left here as a rodeo cowgirl, skipping around the horse trailer, making your mama cry.
Yeah. Yep.
And what was your event or events?
Breakaway roping and goat tying was what paid for my college.
What did you like best?
Breakaway roping.
And do you still like it?
Yes. Dabbing my toe back into it right now, but.
Oh yeah, and how's it going?
I'm dabbing my toe back into it.
All right.
Yep.
And so you were away in college and you came back to visit and you met a young man who was going to horse shoeing school here. So you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I met Cameron, and he's from Old Mexico. And pretty much we met and got married 6 months later.
6 months later, and then you moved to Mexico, but not for a honeymoon.
Not for a honeymoon. Moved to Mexico for 5 months to take care of his family's ranch after his dad passed away. And lived on the ranch with no running water, no electricity. It was kind of like camping with a roof over your head.
Good memories?
Good memories, yeah. It was fun. It was good. I'm glad we did it. And we both realized that we weren't going to be able to build anything in Mexico, and we had the opportunity here in Missouri.
Okay, so you guys moved back here in what year?
We've been 2016.
And as a child, you didn't like cows.
This is true.
All right. And you didn't want to marry a horseshoer.
Yep.
And you didn't want to be a horseshoer.
Yep, there's that too.
And so tell us what your life's like now.
Never say never is what I always say. Yeah, so we shoe horses, and we have our small group of cattle, and our cows are different than the cows we grew up with, though.
That is true. So for the record, Kelly and I were not able to have any extra time, so we had to have cows that could live on the inside of car seats. So Longhorns were what we had. And Longhorns have fence destroyers on their heads. Yeah. So there was a lot of cow chasing and a lot of messes.
Cows getting out. Working cows was always a nightmare because they were never going where they wanted to go, where you wanted them to go. And so my dislike of cattle came from the amount of stress that was around raising cattle.
Okay.
So,
all right.
So now the cows are still stressful, but.
All right. And so now you have a meat business.
Yes.
And why did you start a meat business?
Well, we started it because I think a lot of people can relate to this. You have kids and you want to be better for your kids. And then this day and age, you can research anything. And trying to eat better, I researched chicken, because I was eating a lot of chicken. And then I realized how commercial chickens were raised. And it's not good. Like 100% live in a barn, and they live in front of feeders. They're fed antibiotics to keep them alive, and they only takes them about 35 days to get to 5.5, 6 pounds.
That's pretty fast.
Yeah. So like those humongous 1 pound chicken breasts in the store that only cost $1 a pound, like it only costs $1 a pound because they're raised so fast, so unhealthy, and it's passed on to you.
Okay. And so the mass raising of animals was not something you wanted to feed your kids.
Yeah, it wasn't something that I thought long term was going to be good for our health, good for their health. And so then that led me down the path to learn how to raise them ourselves because we have the land. And it's like, well, why don't we just raise some chickens? We never grew up raising chickens because mom's traumatized from raising chickens and processing them herself.
As a child.
As a child.
Yeah.
She was traumatized, so chickens weren't a thing.
And we didn't eat much chicken.
And we didn't eat much chicken because
Yeah.
you didn't like it.
I didn't like it.
So I learned how to raise them outside, on pasture, moving them every day to fresh grass, and the difference that
So
it makes in
rotational
their
grazing on a small scale for chickens.
Yeah, and
With
chicken
a chicken
tractors.
tractor.
Yeah.
Right. So a chicken tractor is not like a John Deere 4-cylinder diesel tractor.
No, no.
So tell everybody what a chicken tractor is, because I bet there's some folks out here that don't know.
Yeah, so a chicken tractor is like a 10 by 12 is typical structure it's encased, it's got a roof, and we leave the sides open mostly unless it rains, and you unclose on the sides to keep the chickens protected. And you can move it with 2 dollies, and you move it every day to fresh grass, and the chickens love it, and they get
Sometimes
fresh air.
twice a day.
Or twice a day when they get big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically the chickens are moved across pasture, and it's interesting when you fly around. If you look down, you can see where the chicken tractors have moved across the field.
Yeah, and that's the other part of it is it regenerates your pastures with their manure, and it's natural, and it's just recycling. They're recycling the nutrients into our soil.
But what about what you feed your chickens?
They get non-GMO supplements.
And why? Why non-GMO?
Well, I went with non-GMO because genetically modified corn and soy, they spray with all kinds of chemicals, glyphosate.
Okay, so let's be clear. When they genetically modify it, they're genetically modifying it for 2 reasons. So number 1, they can grow big fast. And number 2, it can withstand poison.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly. Much to going down the line, you are what you eat, and it's coming back to the American people. But not genetically modified, non-GMO, they cannot spray with glyphosate, at least.
So it's as close to organic without
It's
being organic.
close to organic without being organic.
Well, it's almost impossible.
It is.
Yeah, you can just keep chasing it.
Yeah.
By the way, when you edit these videos, you get done and you can edit it again another 4 or 5 hours, it'd be a little better. And you can do it again for another 4 or 5 hours, and it'd be just a little bit better. But at a certain point, you have to say,
enough's enough.
enough's enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so you started raising a few chickens for your family, and what did that lead to?
Well, so back to the research, you research, and I learned from Joel Salatin how to do it. Well, Joel Salatin has a huge business of selling beef, pork, and chicken to the consumer. And then it was just down the rabbit hole of, ignorance. And we could do that too, where you don't really know what all that entails, but it entails a lot more than we thought. But we started it, and we're still going. So we raised...
It is a massive amount of labor, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And time, and technology.
And resources.
And resources.
Yeah, you gotta have a lot of resources.
You have to have a lot of resources, yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of marketing, and a lot of web designing, and social media messaging, and
this
things that I'm a country girl that likes to be outside with my animals, not necessarily in front of a computer.
Well, we're in front of a fireplace.
In front of a fireplace, yeah.
Okay, so I had a similar situation with a school, and I didn't have any internet presence, and so I had to do this to keep the school open. And so we live in a time where if you're going to play the game, you have to pay the price, and that's what this is.
Yep.
Yep. All right. Okay, so you're raising the chickens, and then you wanted to have some pork. And how is pork raised in a commercial farm?
Commercially, we have pig farms all around us.
We do.
And they're born in a crate. They're raised in a crate. They're transferred from one barn to another to another. I think they have their farrowing, then they have their little piglets, and then they hit like 80 pounds, they go somewhere else, and then they 180 pounds, they go somewhere else till they finish. So 4 different barns. And that's the only time they see the light of day. Otherwise, they're in a barn and eating.
Yeah.
And getting all kinds of shots. The people who work in the barns, they have to shower before they go in. They have to shower when they come out. They can't be around other pigs because they get so sick if they could transfer a
They
disease.
shower in because the chance of them taking a disease to these
Yeah,
pigs
it's too high.
Right.
Yeah, not a good lifestyle for the pigs, and it's not good for the health people.
Okay, so you started raising pork, and much to my delight, the bacon and the pork you got is so different.
Yeah,
It
they
smells different. It looks different. It cooks different.
yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't even think it was the same animal if somebody fed you two morsels of meat.
Yeah,
You wouldn't believe that they were both pork. Don't you agree?
I agree. I think pork and chicken, like the vast difference in pasture-raised pork and chicken is unbelievable. You might as well call them two different animals.
I agree. Yeah.
And so the way we raise our pigs out on the pasture, well, actually our timber, Missouri timber, we have lots of trees and it's hilly, and we move them through different sections of the trees because we have a lot of them, and they clean it up for us. But also it's up and down hills, and so like their bacon actually has meat to it,
Right.
and their pork chops have marbling, but it's meat.
Yeah,
And
they're building muscle
Yeah.
because they have to get around in the timber
and the timber, yeah.
on the side of a hill. Yeah.
They run
and-
around, they play, they get sunshine. There's actually research that says that pigs raised outside have a significantly higher amount of vitamin D,
Which would make sense.
which makes sense. Really, anything raised outside has higher vitamin D.
Yep.
And since most Americans are deficient in it, it's a good thing to get in your food
Absolutely.
naturally.
Yep. And then finally, your cattle. What are you doing with them that's special?
So
So wait, before we do this, a lot of people advertise grass fed. So the grass fed that I've had has not been very tasty. So is grass fed better?
grass-fed, it's a very nuanced label. So technically, I think we could be considered grass-fed, even though we feed grain at the end, because grass-fed just is out on pasture.
Okay.
Now there's grass-finished, which
Oh, okay.
grass-finished is they're
So-
not supposed to have any grain.
So the grass finish that I've had has not been that
Not
tasty.
been very good.
Yeah.
And it's so depends on what the animal is eating in that grass. Around here we have fescue. Fescue is not very good to finish on.
Okay.
You can properly finish beef on grass, but it's like it's a nuanced thing. So a lot of people who are doing it, they're finishing them on like Sudan grass, which is a grain,
Okay.
or they are feeding them Sudan silage or Milo silage, or
So if you put them into a cornfield, you
yeah.
can call it grass finished,
Ye-
even though they're eating corn cobs.
Well, some people will be like, no, that's not, and it's just very nuanced. So labeling is very, very nuanced. If you want to know what goes into your meat, you have to know your rancher,
Which is what you're providing, right?
which is what we provide. So more than the taste of the meat, more than the health benefits of the meat, we provide the peace of mind and the transparency to see what we do with our meat. We're not
Alright.
hiding anything. If you want to know something, ask us. We're raising meat that we feel good feeding our kids, our parents.
And
my brother, my
I'm,
cousin,
I'm 84 years old. Look at me.
yeah, yeah. So that's the important thing. It's what's important to you, but you really need to know what's how your meat's being raised, and that is the problem with commercial. So to get into the commercial cattle, we have commercial cattle. We sell calves commercially because the meat business hasn't grown to take the full demand of our calves.
Okay.
And those commercial calves, they'll get sold around 500, 600 pounds here in February, March. They'll go to somebody else who will throw them out in the pasture on a wheat field typically until they're 700, 800 pounds. Then from there, they go to another backgrounder until they get like 1,200. Then they go somewhere else, or just different pens, it could be the same buyer, till they reach 1,400, 1,600 pounds.
And a lot of that's in a feedlot.
All after they get 700 pounds, they're pretty much in a feedlot.
And a feedlot is like a commercial hog barn, which
It-
is like a commercial chicken barn.
Kinda, yeah. Yeah, it's they're dry lot
full,
pens
lots
full.
and lots of animals.
And you don't
stand
know
around
what they're
feeding.
being fed. They very well could be being fed really great stuff because we have friends that have a feedlot and they feed them, normal silage and corn and grain, and which is fine. But then there's also feedlots that get moldy cereal for a discount, and they'll feed that. And if you listen to a few feedlot people, the way that they keep their cattle alive to make money, because they have to make money.
Sure.
And if they lose an animal, they lose a lot of money, is they treat them hard and consistently with antibiotics. One little dropped ear, there's antibiotics. Oh, he's sick again this week, there's more antibiotics. Oh, that one didn't work, there's more antibiotics. How about we double that dose?
Yep.
So that is the issue, is you don't know.
Ultimately, that's what you're eating. So it's like...
And they have a withdrawal period of like 30 to 60 days.
Okay.
And then once they've reached that withdrawal period, then they say that they are okay to eat. However, so you can't buy beef liver in the store anymore. It's like it used to be a thing. Also, people don't love it, so that might be part of it. But also, when an animal is treated with antibiotics a lot, it can cause pus and abscesses in their liver, making it unedible.
So that's why it's so hard to come by now.
Yeah.
I'll be dang. All right.
So that is, and the liver does not store toxins. The liver filters toxins. So that is another misconception that, oh, you don't want to eat liver because it's got all the toxins in it. Well, it doesn't. It just filters it and runs it through. So good liver from a healthy animal, from a healthy animal is a powerhouse of nutrients. Right. However, if it's not a healthy animal, you don't want that either.
Sure.
So
what is your brand? What do you guys call yourselves?
CJW Pinot Ranch.
Okay. And what if I am living in an apartment in Chicago and I'm wanting to be healthy and I'm wanting to eat better? What do I do? How do I possibly eat non-GMO chickens from CJW Pinot Ranch?
So the way we do it is we will take a deposit, and we only raise the number of animals that we get deposits for. So you go online, you place your deposit, and we'll raise those animals just for you. When they're ready, you'll pay the remaining balance, and we ship it to your door.
Okay, so I got to plan ahead.
You got to plan ahead, yeah.
Yeah, if I'm wanting a chicken this weekend, I'm out of luck.
You're out of luck with us, yeah.
Okay. What if I want like a half of a cow or something? Is that something you guys do?
Yes. So we sell everything bulk, essentially. So our pork is halves or wholes, and a half a pork is around 75 pounds to 85 pounds of meat, and a whole pork is 150 to 160. And then we sell beefs in eighths, quarters, halves, and wholes.
Okay. And can I, if I ordered an eighth of a beef, can I get all steak? Or
no.
It doesn't work that way?
No, you're taking a portion of the animal, and a beef breaks down to about half ground beef, a quarter roast, and a quarter steak, all in all. 25% roast, 25% steak. So whenever you order an eighth, it's not really my recommended amount. It's only about 45 pounds of meat, which is not very much.
But you're going to get 20 pounds of ground beef.
You're going to get
10 pounds of roast, 10 pounds of
steak, yeah.
Okay. All right. And how far ahead do I need to order something if I want something?
Well, right now we don't have anything available until fall of 2025.
All right. So you guys are getting hit pretty hard.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of a neat thing, huh?
Yep. We're just about to fulfill 5 steers, and then we'll start taking deposits, and we'll raise only the number of animals that we get deposits for.
What do I want to know about my animal? Can I call you?
Yep, absolutely. You can call, you can email, you can check out our social media. Tons of videos on there. I also send out an email with information, ranch updates. I have a blog that has a lot of stuff on there.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about some personal stuff.
Okay.
All right. So tell us about your kids, the most beautiful grandbabies in the world.
Yeah. So Serena is 6. She's the oldest. She is very into running barrels and poles on her horse.
How many hours do you think that little girl rides a week?
As many as we'll let her.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
I bet it's 20 easy.
I mean, I don't think we have that much time on our horses.
Right.
We don't have the time to be out there, but we are out there every day we can be. But she never wants to get off.
No.
So that's definitely her her passion. She also is a very great older sister and takes care of her brother and her sister.
She's pretty naturally sweet.
Yes,
Yep.
very.
Much like your older brother?
Oh, yes, just like my older brother. And then we have AD. He is 4, our middle son, our only son. And he likes to play with equipment.
He is machinery minded.
He is machinery minded. He rides, and he rides good, and it's just not his
Yeah,
joy
he
right
would
now.
rather sit in an excavator than in a saddle.
Yeah, yeah. He likes to dig.
He likes to dig. And he's a meaty kid.
He
like
is. He's gonna stout.
He's going to be
He's also very handy with a rope.
yes, unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Serena has to work really hard to rope, and AD just kind of like throws it up in the air and it catches.
All right. And then the little one.
And then the little one, she's the mess. She's 18 months and into everything, and she keeps us entertained.
She is entertaining.
Yeah.
All right. And are you done having kids?
Yes.
Yes?
She did it for us.
All right. And tell us about Cameron. So he's Mexican cowboy. What's he
Yeah.
doing here?
Yeah, he got stuck here with me. No,
He didn't come to horseshoeing school to find a wife.
no, he did not. He came to horseshoeing school, and then he was going to go back to Utah and drive a truck and
Shoe horses on the side.
shoe horses on the side. Yeah. Eventually have somebody else drive the truck while he shot horses. Make really good money. And he grew up in old Mexico. They had a family ranch where they raised beef masters, which is where we started with beef masters. He really likes to rope.
He loves rope.
He loves to rope.
Yeah. And so he hadn't done a lot of competition roping. And then earlier this year, he won 2 saddles in 2 weekends.
Yep. Yeah. 2 saddles right in a row.
About wrecked him, huh?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And how about shoeing horses? Is that turned into a passion, or?
It's a good business.
And so he enjoys it. How about you? You enjoy shoeing horses, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
More than you expected?
More than I expected, for sure.
Yep. What do you like best about it?
It's rewarding. It is satisfying to do a good job and get paid well.
And look at that finished job and say, man, look at that.
Yeah.
Or take a lame horse and make him sound.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. So what are your plans with the shoeing business? Where are you guys going with that?
Well, we only shoot 2 days a week, which works really well for us, and maintain that until we can't.
So you don't really want to build that more?
No.
No.
No. If the right customer comes across, then
So you're picky?
we're picky.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't blame you.
Yeah. So if you get the right customer, and then they can come in, but not one hit wonders. And
Yeah. You don't really have time for much more, huh?
no.
No. So your farming operation is 80 hours a week.
It's a lot because we do it regeneratively, and
Okay. So tell us exactly what regeneratively means.
so regenerative agriculture is using animals and nature to improve the health of the soil, the animal, the earth, the humans. So we rotationally graze the cattle, because whenever you leave a cattle in a pasture, continuous grazing, they will pick the choicest grass and they'll graze it to the dirt, while the next one that's not so palatable grows tall. And what that does is it kills the choice grass and lets the not so great ones grow. So like I mentioned, we have fescue. It's not the greatest grass, and the cows don't really like it. So when you continue to graze, they graze out all the other great varieties. Like we used to have Eastern Gamma and blue stem, big blue stem, Indian grass, clover, which clover is not really a native, but we used to have native grasses. And we're getting some of those back with our rotational grazing.
So yes, our farm, so you guys have taken over the management of our farm, the farm you grew up on, and it's never looked better. And you haven't sprayed it in what? It hadn't been
Since we
sprayed?
started 4 years ago.
Yeah, so it hadn't had any spray, it hadn't had any insecticides.
No.
All it's had is your animal management.
Yep. Yeah.
So-
And the purpose of it is you move the cattle so that the pasture has time to rest and the other species have time to grow back. And then the way that we manage the cattle, we don't deworm them because the dewormer kills. Well, we don't deworm them with ivermectin. We
Okay.
deworm them with Shakely soap once a year. But also, whenever you're rotating them, the worms aren't there. Like they die off because they
Right.
don't
'Cause
have a host.
if a worm is in, if cows are in 10 acres for the whole year, then they're constantly,
Reconsuming their worms
right.
through the poop, through the manure. And the dewormer kills the bugs in the soil. And the bugs are actually what come up and eat the manure and put it back into the soil. So recycling. It's all like a big system, a circle.
Right.
We rotate the cattle in a circle, essentially. Their manure recycles to grow more grass that they then eat, and then it just continues
And
on.
all the insects and the earthworms and all that are so important.
Yeah. And you want the grass to be tall and to reach down deep to get the minerals that are in the soil, in the rocks. And if the grass never gets tall, it can't reach down there.
So just getting some surface soil.
You just get surface and you don't get the nutrients. And then those animals have nutrients, then they pass those nutrients on to us. Animal, beef, pork, and chicken, and dairy is the most bioavailable nutrients you can get.
So if you eat the right animals, you're getting all your vitamins.
You're getting the nutrients you should have. Yeah.
Okay.
But we've had a lot of decades of not. So
In society.
in society in general, we have been depleted of nutrients, and it's rearing its head with the illness, the obesity, the infertility, all of it.
Okay. What has been the most difficult part of becoming a regenerative farmer?
It's a lot of time. So a lot of time. There's no one answer to do it. It's a lot of testing and figuring out. And did I do this right? Did I graze this the right time? Did I graze it the wrong time? There's people who do it, but everybody's property is different. Everybody's grass is different. Their soils are different. So every time we talk to somebody, they'll be like, yeah, it's you just figure it out. They've been at it for 20 years, and it's just, you just keep
So
going.
every year it gets a little bit easier then.
It gets a little bit easier because you kind of figure things out. I did this right. I didn't do this right.
So you were talking about testing, and I've been smoking some of your roasts and stuff that are supposedly going to be really tough, and they're not so tough. So you guys test your animals, huh?
Yes. So we DNA test the calves so that we know that they will be tender. And
so there's a gene that you can test for that tells you a tender score.
Yeah.
All
They
right.
tell you on a scale of 1 to 10 how tender it's going to be. And it's just, the way they explained it to me was there's a gene that helps the muscle break down after they get killed and hung.
Okay.
And then we also hang them for 21 days to increase that.
It's called dry
tenderness.
aged.
Dry aged.
Right.
Which is another nuanced label. People will say 7 days is dry aged. But essentially, the longer it hangs, the more tender it becomes, the more flavorful it becomes, because the more moisture gets evaporated out of it. People don't like to do 21 day. Even the processor doesn't like to do 21 day because, well, for one, it takes more time, which is time is money.
Sure.
And you lose weight.
Sure.
You lose moisture, which is weight.
Well, I know the hams in the supermarket, they actually inject them with water.
And other
Because-
things.
Well, but they can sell a 5-pound ham. If 1 pound of that is water,
Yeah.
then it's it's
Then
it's
they
money.
made $7 for water.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the dry age, you're actually losing some of that value.
We lose the volume and essentially the dollars when you sell by the pound. Yeah.
Okay.
But it creates such a superior product. It's well worth it.
It's well worth it, sure.
Yeah. But also what we finish them on, alfalfa and non-GMO corn. The alfalfa is high in calcium, and calcium also contributes to their tenderness.
Okay. And how long do you finish a steer?
It's about 4 to 6 months. It depends on what size they come in.
And you actually are weighing this stuff that you're feeding them.
Yeah. Way to make sure they get the right amounts. It's
Yeah.
a process.
Yeah. So when we do chores for you guys when you're gone, it's not just,
It's not.
I used to walk out in the field and break a bale and walk away,
Yeah.
but now it's on the scale with the wheelbarrow. Oh, this is 7 pounds, 4 ounces. And in 10 days, I got to go 8 pounds. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's,
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, it takes time to create a quality product, but it's worth it. Our customers love the flavor, and the flavor is consistent that way. That's
Right.
another issue you have with grass finished is it's inconsistent because, well, it depends on,
Yeah, something finishes in March, it'll be way different than something finishes in September.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So where do you want to go from here? What's your goal?
Well, we want to grow the meat business to where it's essentially our full time
Okay.
and ride horses.
Ride horses for sale, ride
No,
horses for you.
ride horses for ourselves.
And you used to ride quite a few horses to sell and train for other people,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
not no more, huh?
Just not right now with the kids and stuff. There's limited time, and I'm more passionate about raising high quality meat and sharing it with people.
What would you like to raise more? More chickens, more pork, or more beef?
Beef and pork, not more
Beef and pork.
chickens.
Okay. And the chickens are a lot of work.
The chickens are a lot of work. They're lower profit margin. You just have to raise so many of them. And there are ways to scale it, but back to scaling, like, is that always better?
Right.
We're in the system we're in because of scaling, more and more and more. So,
Well, there is an inherent problem of massive amount of people that live in city conditions that still have to be fed, right?
yeah,
And so doing regenerative farming the way you're doing it, it would take a lot of people to feed the masses.
it would. And right now, it's like 1% of the population is even a farmer or a rancher.
Right.
So it's a lot. I think it would be possible.
Oh, it would be possible, but it would take man, it would take such a tremendous workforce.
Yeah, it would take a workforce. Yeah, which is a lot of people want out of the city. So maybe it will come.
Maybe it'll happen.
Maybe it'll happen, but it's definitely worth it to have high quality meat.
Sure. Right. And what about vegetables? Now you guys grow vegetables, but I haven't seen you sell any.
That's because my garden is very small and experimental.
Oh, okay.
Also doing it regeneratively
Okay.
with cover crops. And a principle of regenerative is keeping the soil covered at all times, which is why you don't overgraze it. Graze it, because when the soil has cover, it has temperature regulation, the bugs have more vibrant life.
But then you can't really fight the bad bugs with 7-Dust or insecticide, right?
No,
Yeah.
but this last year, I kind of let the weeds grow up around my garden, and I had so much bug activity in there, and I didn't have any bad bugs.
Oh, really? You didn't have any problems?
I didn't have any problems. I didn't have nothing eat my tomatoes.
How about raccoons?
Not this year,
Not this year?
but I didn't do corn.
Yeah, they were bad last year, huh?
Yeah, corn. I have not ventured back to corn because of that.
Yeah.
But our food is just so nutrient depleted. I mean, take flour, for instance.
Okay.
In the 1940s, they realized that they could take the germ, the bran and the germ from the wheat and sell that for feed, because that's actually where a lot of your protein and your nutrients are. And you could sell the white flour to people and make breads and whatnot.
So people still get their bread, just doesn't have as much nutrients.
Doesn't have the nutrients in it. Well, they start getting worried about people getting sick. So then the government mandated that they add nutrients back in. But it's not bioavailable, meaning your body can't use it. It just like stores up in your body.
So they're still extracting the germ.
Yeah, they're still taking the wheat germ and the bran, and so
So when you
make
buy
byproducts
white,
out.
bleached, enriched flour,
It's enriched with niacin and iron and folic acid and things your body can't actually use, and you're not actually getting the
now
nutrients
how come
that
we
should
can't
have
use
in
it?
it. Because it's synthetic.
So
It's not
the type
natural.
of stuff that they're giving us.
Yeah.
So we can use iron and folic acid and all that,
Yeah.
but just not
Well,
from.
folate. Folic acid folate is the natural form,
Okay.
but folic acid is the synthetic form.
And we can use that. We just can't use it the way they put it in flour.
Because it's not naturally occurring. It's synthetically conducted in a lab.
Mm-hmm.
Like citric acid is from black mold.
Okay.
So, and what started us down this path too was I learned that they use human hair, inbred, they turn it into a amino acid.
Okay. They use human hair In the making of bread.
in the making of bread
Right.
as a preservative.
The way it sounded, they use human hair in bread.
They do.
Yeah, but you say in bread, like.
Yeah, they do though. They turn it into an amino acid and then they use it as a preservative.
Yeah.
So I think once you start questioning what the government allows into your food, it takes you down a huge rabbit hole.
Yes. Well, and so often that rabbit hole leads to where the money comes from,
Yes.
not what is best for.
Not what is best for. And that's back to the flour. The money, they were able to make more money off the wheat
By doing that.
by selling two different byproducts.
Sure.
And the American health plummeted.
Right.
Along with, well, you can go into canola oil. It was a lubricant in World War II, but they had a whole bunch of it. They needed to remarket it, and now we have canola oil.
So canola oil originally was used in machinery, and then they realized that we could consume it. So what's the answer?
Whole foods.
Whole foods?
Knowing your farmer. Cooking from scratch. Reading labels. If you can't pronounce it, you don't know where it came from, don't eat it.
Yeah, that's a big deal, isn't it?
It's a big deal.
All right. Well, I often ask my guests for a dad joke.
You'd think I would have a billion, but I have none.
Why would you think you'd have a billion?
I don't know.
All right. And how about inspirational saying?
Whenever I struggle, I just think about, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, and plans for prosperity and a good future.
Okay. So anytime you're feeling bad, you can just look in Scripture.
Yeah.
All right.
There's a few scriptures that come to mind, but that's a big one.
Okay. Excellent. And what about teaching me something?
Can teach you to make sourdough.
I would love to have some sourdough. Do you have sourdough?
I don't have sourdough, but I can make sourdough.
And so the sourdough that I buy at Walmart
is not sourdough. Sourdough is flour, water, and salt.
Okay.
You can add honey in there if you want.
And how do I make it?
Well, you start with a sourdough starter.
Okay. How do you start the starter?
You mix flour and water.
Okay.
1 cup of flour, 1 cup of water. You mix it. You leave it on your counter for a few days. You mix it.
Is it covered? Is it in a?
It's
airtight?
in a jar. You put a cloth over it.
But not an airtight.
Yeah, don't airtight it.
Okay.
And
And you want it out of the light?
It doesn't matter. Somewhere warm.
All right. And it doesn't have to be a crock. It can be a mason jar.
It's a mason jar.
Okay.
And you just mix it for a few days.
So every day I mix it?
Yeah, just once.
Okay.
You smell it. And if it starts smelling yeasty,
I
vinegary.
can't smell.
Well, Mom can.
All right.
Vinegary, then you're on the right path. You do that for 5 or 6 days. And then you discard, so throw away half of it. And then you add a 3/4 of a cup of water, 3/4 cup of salt, flour back, mix it. And you just keep doing that, discarding and adding until it gets really bubbly. In 24 hours, it should double in size and be bubbly. That's when you have an active starter.
Okay.
Then to make sourdough, you take a cup of water, a 3/4 to 1 cup of starter. It doesn't have to be perfect. A teaspoon of salt and 3 cups of flour. And you just mix it together. You do some lifts and folds for a few times.
So not in a mixer?
Not in a mixer. You can.
Okay.
But it doesn't need mixed that much.
Okay.
And then you let it sit. Then you lift it and fold the dough back into itself every hour for 4 to 6 hours.
My goodness.
Yeah. That's why it's a process.
It's a process.
But it's very simple.
Okay, so from the time if I want to have sourdough, I need 2 weeks probably.
Unless you buy a starter or know somebody that has a starter. Otherwise, it's a day process. And then you finally get to the last, and then you let it rise, score it, and then you bake it into a Dutch oven.
Okay, so the old camp cooks, they would have their starter, and they would protect that thing pretty carefully.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and my starter, once I take 3/4 of a cup or a cup of it,
you feed it again.
And feeding it with more water, more flour?
More water, more flour, yeah. Equal amounts of water and flour.
Okay.
Yep.
And I use bleached enriched white flour?
Yeah, no.
Okay, what kind of flour do I
You have
use?
to use organic flour and ideally filtered water, because the chlorine in the water and the chemicals in bleached enriched flour will not provide life to an active yeast. Because basically what you're making is a live active yeast.
Okay. Okay. All right. So now I've watched this podcast and I am motivated to eat better. So how do I find you?
You can go online to cjwpinoranch.net or look us up on social media. Pretty much if you Google us, you'll find us. And get on the email list, and I will send emails whenever deposits open. You place your deposit, and we will raise the animal for you.
All right. Well, hun, I've really enjoyed sitting down talking about this, and Mom and I are behind you.
Yeah.
All right. Good job.
Thanks.
I am riding through the country where CJW Pino Ranch raises their beef, their pork, and their chickens for you. And even though we are in Missouri, it is shipped all over the United States. So if you want to get an eighth, a quarter, a half, or a whole beef, or a pig, or a bunch of chickens, get a hold of cjwpinoranch.net right now. Contact Jacqueline so you can be your personal rancher, and you can make 2025 the year where you start eating good. Yeah. And we might get a video of me getting bucked off right now. Young horses, they kind of feel fresh in the springtime. And we're not quite spring, but Marina's she's a few miles short of having enough rides.